Japan is an island nation. Its domestic resources only meet 15% of its needs. It has a very heavy dependence on imports, and domestic nuclear power is very important to Japan. During the 1920s, Japan began to strive for oil independence. Japan planned to acquire petroleum sources in Southeast Asia. After Japan failed to acquire such sources, it invaded China in 1937. An oil embargo was placed on Japan by the United States, and Japan seized Netherlands East Indies and set up attack on the U.S. Another embargo was placed on Japan in 1973 by OAPEC. At that time, oil had accounted for 74% of Japan's energy. This caused an economic shift from oil consuming to oil conserving. Japan then turned to liquefied natural gas, or LNGs. Japan also began using nuclear energy around this time. Japan is a very dependence-based energy strategy. It's the third largest importer of net oil, the second largest importer of coal, and the largest importer of liquefied natural gas, or LNGs. As stated before, Japan is the third largest importer of oil. The national government encourages companies to explore and produce hydrocarbon reserves. Aid from Japan Bank for international cooperation for favorable rates on loans. Overseas oil exploration and development has risen since the 2011 earthquakes and tsunamis. Being a heavy importer, Japan relies heavily on the Middle East, Qatar, Kuwait, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Beginning to diversify its imports, looking towards Southeast Asia, Africa, Russia, and even America. Japan uses Russia's Eastern Siberian Pacific pipeline. Japan alone consumed close to 37% of LNG, or liquefied natural gas, market in 2012. This goes to make Japan the leading importer of liquefied natural gas. The government condones high use of LNGs, or liquefied natural gases. Imports majority of natural gas from Qatar and Australia. One major impact on Japan was the Fukushima incident, which caused a shift to heavier natural gas usage over nuclear. Natural gas is a great and cheap energy source for producing electricity. Some Japanese companies which are sent overseas are Impex Cosmo Oil, Adetsumu Kosan Company, Japan Energy Development Corporation, JPEX, Mitsubishi, Mitsui, Nippon Oil, and several others. Most of these are small-scale projects, originally set up by Japan National Oil Corporation. In order to approve nuclear power, Japan had to import technology from the United States. Japan imports uranium from several other countries. In 2011, Fukushima, the incident harmed nuclear sector. "30% of Japan's power comes from nuclear power. This makes Japan the third largest consumer of nuclear power in the world. Plans were ready to increase percentage of nuclear energy before the 2011 Fukushima incident. The energy policy law in Japan set basic principles and ideals of energy security and ability to maintain a stable supply. They enforce greater efficiency in consumption and liberalization of the market. This showed that the government wanted to move away from fossil fuels. The Fukushima incident in 2011 critically hurt Japan's movement away from fossil fuels. Japan had to resort to fossil fuels to compensate for the damaged reactors of nuclear power, slowly reviving nuclear sector, thus reviving the movement away from fossil fuels. Due to the Fukushima incident, Nuclear Regulatory Authority gave new safety standards regarding reactor restarts. Increased tsunami and flood protection for reactors were also created. In order to compensate for a lack of resources, Japan creates a need for better efficiency. Japan paves the way in energy-efficient technology around the world. Japan provides engineering, construction, financial, and project management for energy projects around the globe. For its long-term goals, Japan plans to revive nuclear energy after Fukushima incidents. Japan still strives to develop a cleaner and more efficient energy source, and Japan also wants to diversify energy sources in order to secure a stable income of energy for their country.